The senator from Oklahoma.
Mr. President, I complimented the senator from Massachusetts a few minutes ago for his endurance and his attentiveness down here. I appreciate that. I have to say this also with the senator from Indiana, my very good friend, that I'm in kind of a unique position, one who serves on both the Armed Services Committee as well as the Foreign Relations Committee. And I disagree with most of what was just stated and what I've heard several times stated by the senior senator from Massachusetts. But one of the concerns that I've had is that we have so many people who want to be in on this, who should be in on this, who have been elected. We have new senators. One is occupying the chair right now. We have Senator Kirk and Senator Manchin. But also we have Senators Blunt, Bozeman, Portman, Moran, Lee, Johnson, Hoeven, and Paul and Rubio. All of them have signed on to a letter saying, this is very significant. We really need to be a part of this thing. This is important. Now, it's important in my eyes in a different way than it is others. I'm opposed to it for a number of reasons, and I'm one of the few who is the bad guys who came out initially and said, I do oppose it. And I remember, we all know what a Strategic Arms Reduction Act is, and initially, when we had two superpowers, it made a lot more sense to me. Frankly, I look at this and I see the concerns that I have. Verification, that sounds good. Yes, we're going to verify, and yet the number of verifications, the inspections are like 18%, 18 per year in the New Start, as opposed to some 600 over a 15-year period. Modernization. I think it's one thing we all agree on. We have to modernize, but there has to be a way of doing it. We haven't done it yet. It was, 3 years ago that Secretary Gates said, quote, no way can we maintain a credible deterrent and reduce the number of weapons in our stockpile without either resorting to testing our stockpile or pursuing a modernization program. Well, that's an area where we do all agree. Now, how are we going to do that? Right now, I think the generally agreed upon number that it would cost over a period of, 10 years? 10 years would be $85 billion. We have right now about $600 million that would be coming up in the next budget cycle. Now, we all know how things work around here. We can only commit funds for the next cycle. There's no assurance at all that we'd be able to come through with the other $84.5 billion in that period of time. So the modernization is not set up in a way where we are in the current year demonstrating the commitment we have to modernize our fleet. The fact that we're handling this in a lame duck session, most of the stuff we're trying to cram in right now are things we should have been talking about all year long, and we haven't been doing it. And they all most of them fall into a category that it looks like things are going to change in the United States Senate. We know the House, after the November election, is now a Republican-dominated House. We know that we have gained large gains here in the United States Senate. We also know that there are several of my good colleagues, our good friends in the Senate, who are up for re-election in 2012. I'm not sure they all want to join in all of these issues that are coming up at the last minute. And this is just one of them. I look at the quotes that we have. The missile defense thing has not been addressed. I know it'd take a lot of discussion. There are probably, potentially, with the new Congress coming in January, 40 or 50 different amendments just addressing the missile defense thing. And they say, well, no, this is not a problem. But anytime you have a unilateral statement that was made, which was made by the Russians early on, that this treaty can only operate and be viable only if the United States of America refrains from developing its missile defense capabilities quantitatively and qualitatively. That has been stated, and has been stated and reaffirmed more recently when Sergei Lavrov said, we have not yet agreed on this missile defense issue, and we are trying to clarify the agreements reached by the two presidents. Well, the problem is that when American people look at this, they say, well, maybe back during the Cold War, maybe back when we had two superpowers, this thing made sense. Frankly, I was not a supportive of it, supportive of this concept back then, but there is certainly a justification for it. Where are we today? Right now, we are probably in the most endangered position we've been as a nation, and I say this from the experience I've had on both of these committees. We have problems. There are certainly problems with North Korea and what they have developed and their capabilities, problems with Syria, certainly problems with Iran. Our intelligence says, and it's not even classified, that Iran would have the capability of sending a missile to Western Europe and Eastern United States by 2015. Now, one of the most disturbing things that happened at the beginning of this administration a year and a half ago was when the president came out with his budget and did away with our site in Poland, which was a ground interceptor site that would have given us capability of defending the geography I just mentioned. And they took a risk. You know, it wasn't easy for Poland or the Czech Republic in terms of their radar system to almost defy Russia. But they were willing to do it. I always remember being a part of that negotiation over there when they said, "Are you sure if we take this bold step, we start agreeing to building a ground interceptor in Poland that would protect that area, are you sure that you're not going to pull the rug out from under us?" I said, "Absolutely." I had no idea, no hint that this would happen, but it did. And so we had in February, I guess it was, right after the new president was inaugurated, of the many things that he did that I found objectionable with our defense system, our national defense system, but that was the most egregious. Now, we're talking about doing a type of a strategic arms reduction with Russia. I'm not concerned about Russia. I am concerned about these other places, and the threat is there, and the threat is very real. I don't think there are too many people around since 9/11 who don't know that the terrorists would, in a heartbeat, come after the United States of America. And when we have something that's written down in the preamble, and there's statements that have been made over and over again, that it'd be a violation of this treaty if we were to enhance our missile defense system, and yet we know that Syria is going to have a capability by 2015. To me, it's just mind-boggling that people could be sitting around here worrying about this treaty that's taking place between two countries when I don't look at them as being a threat. Then we have the issue of force structure. I think we know that not only do we have to have a weapon to send, but you have to have a way of sending it. We all know the triad, and how they are not being enhanced by this. So that's my major concern, but I was against it from the very beginning. However, this is where we are today. We're in the middle of a thing. Now, I know people I keep hearing on the radio, why you're going to be here till Christmas. Well, you should do that because our troops are, well, I'll be spending New Year's Eve with our troops in Afghanistan. I'm very much concerned about them, but I'm